Thank you very much for making a date on the marketplace, and welcome back. Now to our very first story. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA, says Ghana's economy in 2017 represented a substantial recovery from the downward trend which began in 2012. The institute is therefore calling on government to sustain such a performance in 2018.
The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISA, says Ghana's economy in 2017 performed well. Delivering the State of the Ghanaian Economy report, Director of ISA, Professor Felix Ankuma Asante, disclosed that Ghana's GDP grew by 8.5% in 2017, an increase from the 3.7% rate in 2016. That's representing a recovery from the downward trend which began in 2012. According to him, such growth was mainly driven by oil exports.
Now to the industrial sector. There was a strong performance of the industrial sector in 2017. Largely after the Jubilee fields came on stream, resulting in an increase in oil production after relatively low production in preceding 3 years. However, it remained the second largest economic sector after the services sector. Mining and quarrying, which recorded negative growth rates in both 2015 and 2016, achieved the highest growth rate among all the 5 subsectors. And all the other subsectors of industry also recorded positive growth rates in 2017. Now to the agricultural sector. There was an upward trend in 2016 with the expansion sustained in 2017, and the growth rate reaching the impressive level of 8.4%. The main driver of this growth rate was the cocoa subsector.
Joy Business interacted with the Chief Executive Officer of the Private Enterprise Foundation, PEF, Nanaose Bonsu, who shared his thoughts on the report by ISA. He noted that strict and prudent government spending could help sustain this.
We had a growth in the GDP, but my problem with the growth of the GDP as announced is the composition of what the growth consisted. We have the oil influence taking more than 50%. You want to spread out development across board in the economy. So if you're going to exercise or get the benefit of growth, it got to be spread out in agriculture, in manufacturing, in services and others. But in this case, you take it anyhow it comes. But in this case, it's on the back of the oil, which we think that should have a critical impact on the other sectors of the economy to bring them on board.
ISA's report has over the years provided empirical-based knowledge on the Ghanaian economy.
Now, Energy Commercial Bank plans to use funds from its initial public offering and other private investors to meet the new capital requirement deadline for banks. Officials of the bank disclosed this to Joy Business after it launched its initial public offering in Accra yesterday. The bank is hoping to raise some 340 million cedis by selling 261 million shares at a price of 1 cedi 30 pesos per share. There are fears the offer could suffer because of wrong timing. But Managing Director of Energy Commercial Bank, Christiana Ekeite Olaoye, disagrees.
The timing is not of a concern to us, in that we already have very good indications from corporate investors, both in Ghana and outside of Ghana, as to what it is they want to bring into Energy Commercial Bank. And we believe also that the public, in the 1 month period that we have, will be able to bring in their own funds as well. We don't have an issue with the timing.
Will we take an Energy Commercial Bank post this IPO, if you're able to raise the money? What will be your next targets, the focus as you try to entrench your footing in this country?
We know for a fact that maybe not all the banks currently will be able to recapitalize. So one of the things we seek to do in the first quarter, the first half of next year, is to acquire some other banks and make it a bigger, stronger Energy Commercial Bank.
So it means that the growth wouldn't be organic. You're looking at marriage, acquisition being on the table?
Absolutely.
who will be the focus? They're not mentioning these, but I mean, what will you be looking out for? Any institution that shares your dream, the aspirations for, is it to be acquired or you acquire that bank?
No, we seek to be the acquirer of banks. As I said, we're not very certain that all banks existing today would have met the 400 million capital requirement. So those banks that are available come 1st of January, we'll be talking to the BOG as to how it is we'll acquire them.
Let's turn our attention to aviation now, and the Ghanaian pilot who flew the world's biggest Airbus to Ghana, Captain Solomon Kwenu, is urging operators of Emirates Airlines to seek regular slots for the airline to Accra.
Back home, and then your bosses were asking you that, do you think we should put the aircraft on the Ghana route? Would you say yes or no, and why?
Of course, I tell them to put the airplane on the Ghana route. Why? Because I get to fly home all the time. And the excitement that 380 has generated in this country is just overwhelming. When we landed, everybody so enthusiastic and happy. All my friends are saying they are going to fly just Emirates now. And I think it's going to generate a lot of interest for Emirates product. A lot of them went for the static tour. They see what the aircraft can offer. The onboard shower spas, which creates a unique experience, reduces your jet lag through travel. The lounges, you travel, you take a picture at the lounge and you show your friend, they ask you, are you sure you are in an airplane or somewhere else? You know, there is no comparison to it. It takes air travel to a different level. So since the people have seen the lounges, the huge aircraft, all the products in there, and Emirates keep developing the products to even, they don't sit back and say, we've got this, it's enough. They keep adding up, asking what we can do to improve this and make the passenger experience even better all the time. And because of that, I think it will generate a lot of interest and we can have more people, passengers to patronize our products.
Now, Ghana's industrialization has seen three major phases, all of which have failed to deliver the necessary numbers by way of development and employment figures. President Akufo-Addo is hopeful a try at industrializing the country again will deliver the right figures and especially keep the currency robust. In the following documentary, Odilia Ntiamwa asks critical questions on whether the One District, One Factory program is being implemented well and how this will translate into real development and employment.
By 2016, Ghana's imports alone was some 12.5 billion Ghana cedis. Exports came to some 16.5 billion cedis. But this was mainly because we exported raw materials. In this country currently, exports, well, do not really match much to our imports, since most of the things we import are finished products. So it doesn't really have a trickle-down effect on employment and indeed making money for the nation. Majority of Ghana's imports are, well, coming from China. It's currently at some 12.8%. Chinese items are all over this market. There's not a single other item that you can find that is really made in Ghana. So I'm on a trip to find out exactly what we're doing about industrializing. What are the figures when it comes to industrialization?
In 2010, the share of manufacturing was at a woeful 6.7%. Ghana's industrialization has gone through three phases: the state-led importation, substitution, industrialization, which lasted from 1960 to 1983. It emphasized on public investments and protection of infant industries. The second phase was under the structural adjustment programs of the international financial institutions from 1984 to 2000. Since 2000, the government has concentrated on private sector development, reforms of the investment climate, and adapting to the emerging natural resources boom. Fast-tracking to today, we are at Ekumfi, where President Akufo-Addo launched the first One District, District 1 factory as part of an industrialization drive for the nation. The $7 million project is a loan from the China Exim Bank. The government of Ghana led the company to China, where the company contracted the loan on their own under the 1D1F program. It's been exactly a year since the launch, and the frame of the company has come up. By the first quarter of 2019, the company is expected to be ready, churning out pineapple juice.
Currently, we are in 15 communities, and each of them is projected to do around 50 acres. Okay, so that will be for the farm, as we saw this morning. The machines have been procured and have set sail for Ghana, and will be in quite a short while. What we planned doing was to finish up the preparatory works on the floor, so that once the machines arrive in the country, they come directly here. So we don't need to put them anywhere before bringing them here. For the factory itself, we are told by the contractor we are about 65% complete.
At the farms, pineapples several hectares have been grown in preparation for the factory. Farmers are being paid 200 Ghana cedis every month, even though their produce are not ready.
Every month, we're buying bibi kakada in front of 200 Ghana cedis. The shepa over there say you really abrobenoa. Na e kan ketenkete doza ne ka na prowing ne we no na ya transit na we ye fimti da obeke bia no oyame ayuba na emitimin.
We have a team of about 100 people who we rotate around our 15 current sites, who we are paying 400 every month. And so the system is growing. We see positive responses from the communities which we are involved in.
The Ekomfi Fruit and Juice Factory will also have 1,000 young people at the Nation Builders Corps employed.
So the request we sent to the Nation Builders Corps was initially for about 1,000 people. We are trying to build a group of elite people who can now support other young people who will be coming on board. You know, sustainability is at the heart of everything we are doing here.
In this project, it is clear that the private sector is leading this government's promise.
Today we have recommended about 100 companies to these financial institutions to have a look at and see how they can assist them to bring their factory to life. Foreign financial institutions are also showing interest. I know you would remember that not too long ago, about 22 factories were signed MOUs with the China machinery and, of course, that Chinese group for 22 factories. For $400 million was committed to that project. The Indian Exim has shown interest. The US Exim has shown interest. And a lot more foreign financial institutions are showing interest in this project.
Information Joy Business gathers is that the $7 million contracted from Exim Bank is not guaranteed by government. All items purchased during the construction and fixtures will be the ones sold should the company fail to pay back the loan. The One District, One Factory follows after the third phase of Ghana's industrialization process.
As 1D1F, we are facilitating the whole concept project. So our facilitation role entails that through the district assembly, through Ministry of Local Government, through Ministry of Agriculture, through Ministry of Roads, we provide all the necessary needs of the factory. So for instance, if the access roads here are bad, we'll link up with the Ministry of Roads to ensure that they have a good road. If they have problems regarding compliance issues, Food and Drugs Standards Authority, we have a legal unit. So we make sure that we solve all that problem. This particular project is being sponsored by the Chinese, wholly sponsored, financed by the Chinese. So we only play the facilitation, which is a big thing, because they face problems.
The One District, One Factory policy, like the import substitution era during the 1960s, must look at which imports we do and how the industries can stop them. The project, which focuses on industrialization, was mainly to create jobs at the district level and use raw materials in those places. But this is not what exactly the Deputy Minister for Trade is talking about here. Lee Found Foods cut the sword for a tomato paste factory, but the raw materials will not be sourced locally, at least not for now.
This factory will be producing tomato paste. Initially, there will be some element of import of the tomato paste, but we look very quickly to source as much of our raw materials from local farmers.
The factory, however, will employ 100 people by the close of the year. At Lanti, the developments there are interesting. A Chinese company, the raw materials needed for the production of soy milk will have to be sourced from the 3 northern regions, which is several kilometers from the Volta region where the factory is.
People will go into farming to cultivate the soya bean and also bring it to us for we to buy. So it's give an employment to people who live around, and not only around the place, far from the north, maybe Brunahafo or wherever it is, when they go into production, cultivation of soya bean, we will purchase that for our production.
There have been several calls to properly focus the industrialization drive so that there are no duplications. A typical example is the collapse of the Ayensu starch factory, where poor farmers are owed several thousands of Ghana cedis because of the inactive company.
2 years, people banged their hope on the Ayensu starch factory. So a lot of farmers started growing the cassava. So this year, as the factory has closed down, there are a lot of cassava in the farms. So the Gari people, you say, it's a local market. So for them, when they come to the farm, they only buy a few. Let's say if you have, let's say, 10 acres of the cassava, the Gari people cannot buy all. They only purchase about, let's say, 2-3 roofs.
Just when the factory collapsed, another company was launched in the Brunahafo region, which will also be churning out the same starch. It's against this backdrop that some companies are to receive stimulus packages to keep them still in existence or in business. April this year, 20 companies were shortlisted for 140 million Ghana cedis injection, but that is yet to hit the accounts of the benefiting companies. The companies are expected to pay back at lower interest rates compared to the prevailing market price. Government in time past and the current one have come with several institutions to promote industrialization and provide technical support for businesses. The MBSSI, for example, goes around various companies to provide technical support.
Currently, the government has had an agreement with JICA, the Japanese International Cooperation Agency, and we come out with a project called Kazan. And the Kazan itself is continuous improvement. So what we do is, government comes to, or NDSI comes to a company like Kulino, and we do what we call enterprise diagnosis. Enterprise diagnosis is a fact-finding sort of situation. We try to find out the state of the enterprise as we meet, and after that we come up with improvement activities.
The Rural Enterprises Program, 1D1F, Stimulus Package, GIPC's One District, One Exportable Product, Industrial Park, Private Sector Development, Youth Enterprises Support, SME Unit at the Trade Ministry, Factories and Inspectorate Directorates, and the NDPC are some of the government agencies and programs tasked to increase Ghana's fortunes when it comes to industrialization. The effects are yet to kick in and show in employment figures and the general development of the country.
It's live on the marketplace with me, Emmanuel Apuaji Biafi. Now, on Saturday, 6th October, many professional women will gather at the Global Women's Professional and Business Exchange Conference, which will come off at the Kempinski Hotel here in Accra. They will be leveraging their experiences in business, finance, and legal, among others. It is organized by the U.S.-Ghana Chamber of Commerce and is being partnered by Joy Business. I have with me in the studio this afternoon a speaker and an author who will be making a submission on branding at the conference. She's in the person of Angel Livers and also an award-winning storyteller. He's also a media person. And of course, she's visiting Ghana for the first time. Hello and welcome to the marketplace, Angel. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
How do you feel being in Ghana for the first time?
It's amazing. Beautiful country, beautiful people. So I'm very excited to have the opportunity to be here.
Now tell us about yourself. What do you do and what brings you here?
So back in the States, I have a media firm where we do branding, digital storytelling, and video production.
Okay.
So we really try to assist business owners with their branding and getting their businesses out to a larger market.
All right. And what exactly brings you here this time?
So my nonprofit is called The Woman Behind the Business. And so we specifically work with women entrepreneurs. And one of the things that we saw was that women entrepreneurs we're doing business more globally, but in order to do business on a global platform, you need to have relationships in other countries.
Okay.
So our goal in coming to Ghana is to start fostering those relationships between the US, the Bahamas, and Ghana. So women will now have a broader scope and a broader reach to push their products, to push their services, and now they're thinking more so outside of their immediate communities.
Now, one thing I always ask, my guests who come from America is the fact that, over there, the conditions are quite different, and that social media, for instance, is very powerful, even though it has become powerful of late in Ghana. But for women, what do you hope to tell them about branding that can engineer or power up their businesses?
Absolutely. So they can take control of their branding. You don't have to wait for some large organization or some large business marketer or advertising agency to help you push out your message. Okay. So with social media, Facebook and Instagram, they're essentially married. So you can do sponsored posts or boosted posts on Facebook or Instagram, and at the click of a switch, you can promote to both platforms. And that's a very powerful resource. For like $10 or less, you can reach over thousands of people about what your products are, what your services are. And that's just something that, if you have the information and you know how to utilize the platforms, then you can really push out your brand to a larger scope.
All right. Now, the issue of affirmative action and access to funding in America and other places is quite high. But in Ghana here, I believe the relativity is quite low. So how do you pitch these two against
So I will say, in America even, it's still a work in progress. That's actually one of the main issues that a lot of people have, is access to capital. Okay. There's an organization where they do susus. And
where so you also call it Susu?
Yes, that's the name of the company in America. It's called Susu. A young lady that I went to college with started it in the States. And it's the same platform where you invest in each other. And then when you need the money, you take it out and you do the things that you need to do to build your business. But that model is something that's thriving, that we took from, Africa, and we're building upon it in the States even.
How's it catching up there?
So I think that they're doing extremely well. But the biggest thing is surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are willing to invest in what it is that you're doing. You don't have to wait for these huge banks to say, hey, I'm going to give you $50,000 in capital to build your business, or even $5,000. Find people, and a lot of times we start with our families or we start with friends. So if you find other like-minded women who are like, hey, I want to invest in women, start your own Susu.
That's wonderful. Now, so what should participants at the Global Women's Conference, Exchange Conference, expect from you?
They can expect to have a phenomenal opportunity to network with other women business owners, to gain information, resources. One of the things that I know is supposed to come out of this is a digital kind of repository of all of the different business women who are attending. So to have something like that where you can go through and say, hey, I need somebody in branding, or hey, I need somebody in real estate where you can connect with, is a very powerful tool to be able to walk away with.
Right. And beyond that, what do you hope to leave as a legacy for Ghana on this visit?
I don't plan to just leave with this visit. My hope is to be able to come back to Ghana with the Women Behind the Business in partnership with the Global Women's Conference to help women on a continual basis to build their brand, to build their businesses beyond their immediate communities.
You're also an author. Have you written any book? And
yes.
What's the book you wrote?
So the name of my book is called Brand Repping. So it's about branding, and it's the story of how I introduced my 2 young boys into becoming social media models and building a brand around 2 young African American boys.
Wow, I hope to read one. Do you have a copy here? Maybe later.
Yes, but you can get it on all outlets online. So yes, it's available.
Nice talking to you, and great coming to my studio on the marketplace.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And you've been speaking. I've been speaking with Angel Livers. She's an author and a media personality coming from the United States of America. She's going to address the maiden edition of the Global Women Conference, which is coming up at the Kempinski Hotel on the 6th of October, just this Saturday. All right, so beyond that, I step at a time. That has been the building block transforming the operations of Omega Compute Systems Engineering Limited. And on today's episode of the Joy Business Van, we'll hear what has transformed the ICT hardware and software solutions provider from ordinary to distinct. We'll be speaking with the General Manager, Charles Ohuekbe. That will be on the Joy Business Van later tonight on the Business Live. And on that note, to wrap up this afternoon's edition of the Marketplace, my name is Emmanuel Akwaji. Have a good afternoon.